case here that's very interesting. We talked last I forget when we talked about this. It was either earlier this year or late last year that we talked about Byron Allen and his sort of like saga against Comcast. So let me give you a bit of a an update here from LA Times. So Los Angeles media mogul Byron Allen has ended his high-profile legal battle over alleged racism by cable juggernaut Comcast Corporation after a five-year campaign that reached the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. Allen has long maintained that Philadelphia-based Comcast refused to offer his TV channels in its cable bundles because he was black. His suit, filed in 2015, sought $20 billion. But with the settlement announced Thursday, Allen achieved his goal by gaining carriage for three of his cable channels, Comedy TV, Recipe.tv, and JusticeCentral.tv on Comcast Xfinity cable television packages. Comcast also agreed to extend the distribution deal for the Weather Channel, which Allen acquired in 2018, and 14 broadcast stations that Allen owns. So yeah, let's start there, and then let's start parsing through this a bit. What do you think about it?
I think 5 years is a long time to be battling, in court about something that seems. And again, I don't know. We've talked about this, but we don't know all the details. Like we haven't read any of the court documents. We don't know what was in the filing. We just know like the surface level of the alleged racism. Comcast wouldn't carry channels by Byron Allen. This black media mogul who I think he owns over like 51 different TV channels and several different networks. So he has a large media conglomerate, right? And Comcast is basically like, hey, listen, we're not going to carry any of your shit, without any real explanation as to like why his channels and his networks were not being carried on Comcast. I wonder if the settlement includes like losses, like, hey, if I was on your platform as I should have been, in the event that you hadn't barred me due to alleged racism, does he recoup any potential losses? I think that'd be maybe like a weavy web to get into. But I think that the settlement comes at an interesting time for Comcast. I think it's more of a, hey, let's avoid any potential backlash because of the Black Lives Matter movement by this 5-year legal battle with this highly successful black media mogul. I think that's what it's about. If all of this wasn't happening right now with, after George Floyd's passing and the Black Lives Matter movement, I think Comcast would have still been battling at this in court. So this is just a PR move.
Yeah, I think very much so. Comcast, as shitty as their service can be at times, they're very they're very hip to what the fuck's going on. They've got their ears to the street, unlike the producers of the show Cops of and I guess if it lasted for 31 years, then maybe they did have their ears to the street, and perhaps they were saying that, yeah, like, give us more cops. They whatever demographic they were targeting. Anyways, besides my point. So yeah, I think 100% that this was in reaction to everything that's going on in society right now, as far as the elevation of these black issues, or issues concerning black people, as far as how society interacts with black people by and large when it comes to things like this, of whether it's business dealings or whatever the case is. Like every, I was playing Madden the other day, and I was playing it online, and one of the first messages that pops up when you pull it up is a statement about Black Lives Matter, right? Which is like, what? That Madden was like, no, we got to weigh in here, all right? We've got something to say here. So it's like everybody knows what's up at this exact moment in time, and Comcast is no different. It knows that, well, fuck, if we've got this suit going on with this dude basically alleging racism for not carrying his television stations, and there's this Black Lives Matter situation going on in society, well, I don't know. on our little calculator here, let me carry the two divide. Well, yep, that doesn't spell, or calculate spell. That doesn't calculate to, a good scenario for us if we allow this to continue. So let's just wrap this up in a tight little bowl. Let's essentially give him everything that he wants, and let's make the shit go away. So I think they're smart about it, but there was actually another aspect to this that was uh, one of the reasons why it was such an important case. One of the reasons why it was so pivotal. That it actually didn't really have like a good ending, to be perfectly honest. Even though Allen essentially ended up getting what he wanted, I don't think that was really the point to why this was so significant in society overall. So I'll read here from the article from LA Times. Um, his suit was legally significant because it relied on the historic Civil Rights Act of 1866, enacted a year after the Civil War. It declared that blacks shall have the same right to make and enforce contracts as is enjoyed by white citizens. So the reason why that's significant is because whatever the Supreme Court came down with would essentially, it would be the thing that future generations would have to deal with, as far as like the precedent that sort of set. And so I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg, although they had, I think, a unanimous decision about this 9-0, that everybody was all the people on the Supreme Court were basically saying like, no, like we don't think that you have enough evidence to prove that Comcast was indeed that racial bias or race had a specific, like that was the specific reason for that. It may have played a part, but it wasn't the primary reason why they didn't why Comcast didn't carry his channels. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's a Supreme Court justice, I think she said it best. They had an article, they had a quote from her here in the LA Times. She says, "An equal right to make contracts is an empty promise without equal opportunities to present or receive offers and negotiate over terms." I think that's, in a nutshell, says everything you need to know about this situation, right? That it's not enough to say somebody has the right to do something, because in practice, if you never actually give somebody the opportunity to do something, then what the fuck good is the right, right? If you say, hey, you have the right to, as an American, to eat 40 hot dogs a day if you want it, right? But you know that there's no fucking hot dogs within a 200 square mile of me, then what the fuck good is the right to eat hot dogs if I never have the opportunity to buy a fucking hot dog? Um, and so, uh, and so, yeah. So I think that that's why this case was significant, and it did not go, the way that would have established more clear cut and more straightforward guidelines as far as situations like this of dealing with sort of situations where you do feel like it's clearly a discrimination thing. And look, um, uh, so he had some pretty, I think, significant evidence on his side. I think that there was a quote, um, and I'm trying to find it here. Oh man, I didn't save it. Damn.
While you look for that, I hope that this isn't the end of it, right? I hope like that. I mean, and now granted, while this is the end of this particular trial, I hope that this is not the end of the, like, kind of like a peeking behind the veil or investigation into Comcast's practices. Like, is this something that they do often? Like, uh, not agreeing to show minority channels or networks on their platform for these same reasons as to why they denied Byron Allen's ability to feature his channels and networks on their program. Like, I highly doubt this is an isolated incident and it was just him versus Comcast. I feel like there's more there. So I even though there was a settlement, I hope that this is not the end of it.
Yeah. So part of that evidence that I was talking about, and I mean, again, this isn't all damning in and of itself, but one of them was like, holy shit, was uh, he essentially alleged that one Comcast executive basically said that we're not trying to create any more Bob Johnsons. Now, you might be wondering who the hell is Bob Johnson. So Bob Johnson is another sort of like media mogul who owns all sorts of things, entrepreneur, in the whole nine, who also and I think he was one of the co-founders of BET. Bob Johnson was, and so it was. Yeah, they were essentially saying like Byron Allen in this case was alleging that, oh, like, they basically said this like, hey, we don't want to create another Bob Johnson, which is pretty fucking significant that a Comcast executive would say that. Now again, I don't know exactly what evidence he might have to that he said that or not, but it's interesting that it's like, well, how do you prove that somebody did something specifically because of race? Like, when are you gonna have like the fucking like, is there a like, unless you have somebody fucking detailed and followed around and fucking like have like recordings and shit of the things that they say, it's like, well, nobody's gonna put in a fucking email. Yeah, well, and then they might, right?
They might actually.
It might, yeah, but then you have to get fucking what's the hacker group called? Anonymous. You might have to get anonymous on the case. Give me that fucking email, you know.
I mean, John Schaffner, the former, like, I believe he was the president or CEO of Papa John's. He said it on a conference call. So there are the dumbasses out there.
Very true, very true. But if they're at least even remotely smart, they're never going to put that in an email. They're never going to produce any sort of tangible evidence that, yeah, I'm definitely doing this because this person's, black or Asian or whatever the case is. And so it's like, well, if it's like you can see all the plain text that, hey, the same thing, the same opportunity that you're affording to other people, you're clearly not affording to minorities, or very more specifically black people. It's just like, well, the thing that we can all see is happening. We're like, I don't know, you can't prove it, even though it's clear that this shit that it's actually happening. So it's very, very interesting where all that sort of went, and how it sort of ended up, because I think Byron Allen, and I'm sure it was a very long and tenuous process to have to go through that legal battle and show. I'm sure I should shut the fuck up, but the thing I'd like to say is like, I'm not sure if it was a dub. I think that it might have been actually kind of an L a little bit. Not even a little bit, like probably a lot bit, as far as dealing with other cases like this, because now again that sets a precedent where essentially the Supreme Court was like, nah, you got to go back and find more specific, concrete evidence that this took place, and that can make things a whole lot more complicated for people in those situations.
And sometimes a settlement just means nobody wins. It's like, we're not gonna go any further than here. Let's just figure out a way to end this conversation. But if there was more conversation that needed to be had, sometimes justice is lost in the settlement, right? Like the thing that really should have happened doesn't, because there was a settlement. But you know what? When you said you played Madden earlier, they should have invited John Madden back to do to actually say it, right? They'd be like, and the quarterback hikes the ball to the running back, and then boom, touchdown, Black Lives Matter. Like that should be the intro of Madden. That would be
that would be fire though.
Just like all of John Madden's commentary, none of it makes sense, but it was
Yeah,
always great.
yeah, but then don't let Madden come out and say some wild ass shit like, and then he throws a touchdown. You got this person. He ran an XYZ route, and that's great. Also, I don't get what the big deal is. I don't understand what. I don't understand what.
They're like, edit that part out. Edit it out.
They're just like, John, thank you for coming in today. We appreciate you. You never have to do this again. Just to let you know. All right, let's move on here to one of our final stories.